So we're seeing a level of power in this chapter that we've never seen before, not even from Cosmic Fear Garo, because Empty Void, the leader of the ninja village, can like go outside of the universe and then observe the parallel worlds that branch out from it, and then he can attack them using his quote-unquote special jutsu, the Dimension Slash that we saw before. I know this is wild stuff. It's changing everything. It's completely altering the power scale, and we'll get into how he's able to do this and what else is going on, of course. But first, coming off of the previous chapter, we saw that when Empty Void did show up, he immediately went after Flash and Sonic with the cube, trying to convince them to join God by taking his hand using a genjutsu. And that was like the cliffhanger. It's like, is Flash going to accept it? And we knew that he wasn't, because in the previous version of this arc, he didn't. And what do you know, in this version, he isn't either, because once again, Sonic is saving him. Sonic is able to break out of his genjutsu influence world, just like before, except we're not seeing what Sonic saw. He's just immediately coming into reality and punching Flash in the face to wake him up. And Sonic explains it as, I guess it's a sort of a genjutsu that takes advantage of emotional dependencies in your heart to tempt you. And Flash is like, me? Emotionally dependent? Remembering that he saw young Sonic when they were kids in the ninja village. And of course, Flash tries to play it off like that didn't happen. Now he realizes that he does have like a connection with Sonic, or at least he's realizing it, and he can't really be so delusional about it as he was before. Then they start having this back and forth with Empty Void, to where he's like, you know, those who are confident in their abilities cannot maintain relationship as equals. And they're like, what? We're not equals. Are you talking about you and Blast? He's like, no, in skills, Flash excels, but in the heart, Sonic leads, achieving a balance, which is nice, because obviously Flash is way stronger than Sonic, but Sonic has a stronger quote-unquote heart, which allowed him to break through the genjutsu and whatever else we're going to see going forward. But after that, they kind of like waste no time and immediately go after Empty Void. And as they're trying to attack him, he suddenly like starts to warp reality, and he just leaves. Like, he is able to go outside of the perceivable universe. I mean, he says that this is the outside of the causality of the universe, and that parallel worlds branch out with each possibility, infinitely bubbling forth like foam, and he can like perceive them. Now, if you're confused by this sequence, that's okay, because we haven't seen this before. This is like new stuff, and he's able to do this because God gave him these powers, and also because he like sucked up the cosmic power that left Garo after he was defeated by Saitama. So I guess he got a buff from that, and he kind of has a similar understanding of energy and the universe that Garo did. But ultimately, it's all coming from God. And of course, Garo wasn't doing this stuff. This is wild. I mean, Garo knew how to like travel back in time, but this is something entirely different. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Skillshare, because Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. So since it's the summer now, a lot of us have school breaks or slower work schedules. And with Skillshare, you can use this new time you have to explore your passions and hobbies, because I know a lot of you out there probably are interested in being YouTubers. And being a YouTuber myself, I never really have any downtime, but I still use the time that I have to take Skillshare classes to become a better YouTuber, just like you can with Marcus Brownlee's YouTube Success Script, Shoot, and Edit. I've been following Marcus on YouTube for more than a decade now, so I was really excited to take his class, which helped me with planning a video, which is not as easy as it sounds, shooting compelling content with like whatever gear I have, editing my footage to grab and keep attention, another thing not so easy, as well as growing my channel strategically while still having fun, something that I've been having an issue with lately. But even if you're not already a professional, Marcus's class will really help you get your feet off the ground. So guys, if you're looking to better yourself this year and use a very valuable learning path from Skillshare, check the link in the description, because the first 500 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks, guys. And it makes me think that the whole Garo teaching Saitama to travel back in time and Saitama going back in time to a previous timeline where everyone wasn't killed by his radiation, with that timeline still technically existing, that it was for a greater purpose, because all of this timeline stuff and parallel worlds is definitely going to come back into play, considering that it can be manipulated here even by Empty Void, so it can obviously be manipulated by God, meaning that God is probably acting in multiple timelines at once. I mean, I'm assuming he exists in a similar state that we see Empty Void here, outside of the causality of the universe. And going forward, this will probably be something that is very integral to the story. I would even like to see them go back to the universe that Saitama left, where everyone was killed by Garo's radiation. I mean, there were some people left, but it would be interesting to see what's going on there. But he looks down at like the timeline or the parallel world that he left Sonic and Flash in, and he says he can fold entire dimensions like bubbles and using special jutsu, and he starts doing this hand sign stuff. He kind of looks like somewhere between Naruto and Sukuna, and then he's like, intervene from the outside, and he's about to come down with a huge slash that winds up being the dimension slash. So this explains how he's able to do that, because at the beginning of this arc we saw that the dimension slash came out of nowhere and almost one-shotted the Hero Association if Blast wasn't able to like protect it with his gravity sphere barrier thing. So it's like, that's how he's able to do it. He just goes outside of the universe, perceives this dimension like a bubble, and then just attacks it from the outside, which is like, wow. I don't even know if this qualifies as above Dragon anymore. This has to be disaster level God stuff for sure, right? But the dimension slash like comes through trying to hit Flash and Sonic, and it looks like it kills Sonic at first, with Empty Void coming back into their world and trying to once again convince Flash to accept God's influence, saying like, hey, you can't refuse the temptation of the Holy Hand, referring to God. Become my arms and legs and we'll work together to exterminate humanity. I'll use my dimension slash from hyperspace to clean up the trash on the surface, further showing that this guy is probably legitimately disaster level God. But before he's able to hit Flash with the cube, our boy Blast comes back in and hits Empty Void with the gravity knuckle, just like he did in the previous version of this arc. So after he lands this punch, this is where the story is going to like officially continue from this point on with all new stuff, and we're no longer in retcon territory anymore. So he knocks Empty Void like pretty far away, but Empty Void immediately gets up and he's just angry at this. And Blast reveals how he was able to get here in time, because he's like, yeah, the wording of the challenge letter that Flash gave me seemed unnatural, so I pretended that I was going elsewhere and I just followed them from above. Also, Sonic is alive. I guess he was either saved by Blast or it was like again jutsu that he died. But then Blast is like, ah, so both of you overcame the temptation of the cube, huh? Well done, you passed. So I guess Blast is like fully accepting him into his ranks. But going forward, I guess we're gonna see a full-blown battle between Blast and Empty Void here, because clearly Blast is the only guy that can fight him besides Saitama, and Saitama's not here. So we might see like an epic like hyperspace battle between these two. I really hope we do, at least a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying Blast needs to straight up defeat him here, but at least let's see a chapter worth of an insane battle. Let me know what you think about this chapter in the comments, guys, and if you liked it, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.